Hello, hello, hello. It's a unusual time. It's earlier than usual, but because also we've been out last week, no noise from Truflation and the Truth Network team and Nuon last week. So lots of online and on-chain activity. And I think you did an AMA last week, didn't you, Cam?
Sure did, yeah. We did
We did.
did a spaces with brackets.fi. Just getting the word
Okay.
out, sharing the good word.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, no. So, I've been sick. So I told everybody on Sunday my eyes were all puffed up. I lost my voice. I was talking like this. So
Oh.
I'm now back and excited to be back. And man, what a week it's been. Huh? How crazy and tumultuous it's been, man. It's like, what a rodeo.
Yeah, dude.
But I think it's a lot of good things happening, and especially what you're working on with Nuon, right? And I'm super excited to share more with the community about what you're doing. And I think we've seen yield-bearing stablecoins get approved by the U.S. government. We've seen precedents have been created. We've seen adoption of crypto assets as strategic reserves, which is another phenomenal move. People aren't happy with that. I don't know why. I mean, just take it. Say thank you. Be happy. It's like,
Could you imagine this news like last cycle or the cycle before? People would be jumping for joy. Now they're just like, meh.
I mean, I did an interview yesterday with one of the founders of the Crypto Valley Association in Zug, Switzerland, right? And
Okay.
he was like, "Oh yeah, it should only have been Bitcoin. I don't understand why all these other assets in there." It's like, dude, just be happy, man. We've gone from sort of a minefield of sort of a demilitarized zone where none of us could walk through. We'd have to build tunnels and anyway, and now here we are. We've got nice assets.
Yeah, it's great.
Um, but I think also, sort of, what does that mean? I mean, ultimately, that crypto is becoming more and more mainstream. It's becoming more and more professional, and investors are looking for other assets that are beyond this whole meme coin, this rug pull narrative.
Yeah.
People just building out non-backed tokens, which I think do have a play, but it's super early, right? It's still the wild, 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 freaking wild west.
Yeah.
And so for that to sort of evolve, it should evolve on a much smaller scale than it is right now and work out the kinks in there. All the
Okay.
meanwhile, the builders, what you've been doing with Nuon, with yield-bearing stablecoins, with opportunity, is really exciting, and it's innovative, and it's allowing a lot more mainstream investors to participate and leverage great UX and risk mitigation and protection associated with what these new systems and new rails are offering, right? And so that's really
Totally.
exciting. And so, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
give us an
I
update
was
of where you're at with Nuon and how that's coming. I think you've got just launched or are
yeah, yeah.
launching, right?
I think since we talked last, I don't think we had anything out there yet. In just the last few days, we got up to 100K TVL.
Wow.
I think we went public on Thursday, so it's been a couple days. Um, and yeah, the system's working, as expected. The allocations are working. We've got some monitoring starting to come up. The referral systems, everything is like, we worked for how long, just like, okay, if people are going to be excited about this token, so they're going to want to get a referral link so they can get some of the yield. And then sure enough, we're seeing that play out. So seeing the assumptions come right is feeling good.
That's great. I mean, yeah. So it's like, I think I was just on the site earlier, and as you can all see, I'm in a new environment, new studio. So I don't have my wallets, and I can't connect anything here, which might be safer too. But yeah, you can see here, you're now live, right? So I can get
Yeah.
Nuon. I just need to connect my wallet and stake my USDC, and I get one-to-one Nuon, right?
Yes, sir.
And Nuon guarantees me yield protection. What is the APY? Is only 2.7. What is that APY?
So as it's set up right now, that is the Truflation APY. So that comes
Okay,
from basically as the Truflation underlying index goes up, we pay that out to the Nuon holders.
okay. So Nuon, basically, you always get a guaranteed 2.7%, or whatever Truflation is. That's the
Exactly.
Truflation APY, right?
Exactly.
And then here I go to the staking element, and boom, I get 1,800%. How are you
Slightly
paying me
different. Slightly
that?
different. Yeah. So this is something we're going to break out pretty soon, so you'll be able to see it in more detail more clearly. But I'll just
Yeah.
tell you what's happening right here is that APY is actually made of three things. So first of all, when you stake your APY, you do still earn the rebasing, you still earn the inflation protection,
So that 2.7% I had earlier, right?
right?
Is that embedded in here? Is that embedded in that 1,872?
Currently, yeah, yeah. And we're going to
Okay.
break it out so people can see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all in there. The other thing that's in there is the protocol typically earns more than inflation or Truflation. So right now,
Okay.
we're sharing some of that yield with Nuon stakers.
Yeah.
So when you stake, so you're getting the rebasing from the inflation, you're getting some of the excess DeFi yields, and where the bulk of that number is coming from is we're paying out rewards in the strategy token that's going to be used to govern the protocol.
Interesting. And then if I look here, so here I can stake my Nuon, right? So the ones that I just minted, I can now stake them, right?
Yep.
And here, I guess I can request, I can unstake. What am I requesting here, by the way? Sorry.
So yeah, no worries. There's a little time delay.
Okay.
When we get out of guarded launch, it's going to be
Ah,
21
okay.
days. But during
Okay.
guarded launch, I wanted to feel a little safer for people, so we kept it down to 7 days. And so
Yeah.
basically, when you request to unstake, you'll stop earning the DeFi yields, you'll stop earning the reward token, and then after 7 days, you can unstake.
So you have a bonding period of 7 in guarded launch and
Yeah,
21 days in normal period, right? So
exactly.
you have to then request your, and by the way, these are stable coins that are all the meanwhile always earning inflation protection under this. And during the unbonding period, do I earn APY or not, other yield beyond just Truflation?
Beyond Truflation, no. It's part of the security. The way it's designed is kind of a security measure.
Yeah,
But yeah, during that period, you stop earning. That's also part of why I dropped it down to
yeah.
7 days during this guarded launch. Is like let people get in and out with comfortably.
And then obviously the unstake is once it's unlocked from the bonding period, it then comes into the unstake period, I'm assuming is sort of
Exactly. And there's a
yeah,
nice little countdown timer that shows as you're waiting.
nice. Yeah. Would I see that here? Or I see that in unstake. Okay, I would see a
It'll
nice
be right
countdown.
there. Yeah,
And then the claim element is to claim the rewards that I have beyond Truflation, which actually gets streamed to my Nuon tokens, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. And a nice yield, right? 1,827. And I think that the most exciting bit is you have Nuon has two tokens, right? It has the
Yes.
Nuon, which is the yield bearing or inflation protection stablecoin. And then you
Right.
have Numint, which is the strategy token, right?
Yeah. And why strategy token? What a
Yeah,
funky
exactly.
name, right? And so, yeah, it is kind of a funky name, but we started with governance token, but frankly, it's not a governance token.
Yeah.
It isn't used for that. That's not what it does. What it actually does is you use the token to decide which assets, like you have some assets showing right here,
Yeah.
and you can see 30% of the protocol is going into IPOR, 70% is going into this Morpho Seamless, right? You have the right to choose that
Interesting.
and the different APY. And the thing is, if you earn more than inflation, that part of that excess reward goes to you as the person who chooses where the assets go. The reason this is so interesting and why I find it actually pretty exciting actually is because this is the incentive system is built in such a way so that you are incentivized to govern the protocol and get the maximum yield that you possibly can. But there's also a slashing mechanism if you get it wrong. And so everyone's got to be as risky as they can and push as hard as they can without getting into the danger zone. I feel like that's going to make for a really fun dynamic.
So that's like sort of in a way you're helping define the yield, the ultimate native rewards for all the Nuon holders, right?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So, the Nuon holders probably aren't going to be getting down into these details so much. They
Yeah,
probably just want to, have a stable coin that
yeah.
rebases, gives them access to inflation protection and some DeFi yields, nice and easy.
Actually,
But
that actually doesn't go to the Nuon holders. It goes to the Nuon stakers. Is that's a better, more
oh,
accurate reflection, right?
that is right. That is right. I kind of slipped and told a little bit about the direction of where things are going. So I probably
Yeah,
probably should give that one to myself. Uh, but yeah, exactly. And then if you're more the kind of person who understands DeFi and thinks
yeah,
that you can do a good job, there's going to be quite a bit of treasury built up here in Nuon. So you're going to have the ability to allocate probably a larger allocation than you would with the capital that maybe you have, and you'll be able to earn yield on. I mean, I'm just thinking of this right now. It's almost like kind of like leveraged yield allocation. I need to think about this a little more, make sure it's right. But yeah, it's a chance to basically earn more, outsized rewards on your
yeah.
investment based on your skills and knowledge.
Interesting. So right now, 70% is going to the beefy Morpho seamless USDC reward, earning 9%. 30% is going to the IPOR lending optimizer on base, which is earning 7.61%.
Right.
Interesting. And right now, the amount of USDC across those two are 30 and 70%. Sorry, 23. But we mentioned earlier that's 78, 79, maybe 79,000.
Right.
And right now, I thought we said we had 104,000 in there right now. So if we have
Right.
104,000, where are the rest of the tokens?
So actually at the top right of your screen, you can see a buffer about
Yeah,
25K. So as money comes in and out of Nuon, we want to make sure that there's always some available if you want to withdraw or
yeah,
deposit. And so we rebalance and we try to aim for about 20% in the buffer. But that buffer isn't sitting idle. It's currently going to AUSDC with Aave. So it's earning a
yeah,
small yield, but a yield.
yeah. And maybe would that be worthwhile showing somewhere where that's earning yield?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to add that because one of the things, it's kind of fun to watch. I've been obviously staring at this screen
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the last few days, but what's fun to watch is new money comes in, so the buffer gets a little bit big, and
yeah,
then there's a rebalancing, either just a standard rebalancing or it's triggered by the buffer getting a little bit too far out of range, and then it goes into the assets and you see it go back down to the 20%. I think it'd be fun to show also, maybe right there in the protocol asset allocation, we could show the yield earned on the buffer.
yeah. Yeah, because ultimately that's also a reward that gets distributed to cover Truflation for the Nuon holders, but then also a reward for Numint strategy participants as well as Nuon stakers, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And
So
yields are
actually,
somewhat low now, but they will go up. They'll
yeah.
go back to
But I think this is a great point that leads to what you call here the backstop, right? Explain a bit about the backstop as the yields drop in more negative environments. The demand for dollars obviously drops, and as the demand for dollars drop, then the yields drop significantly as well. And so, where does the backstop come in, and what is the backstop again?
Yeah, it's a good question, and this comes from just watching the charts, watching Truflation as it was going, and seeing that the big pump right after Truflation came out, and then watching what asset prices and yields are doing, and so there very likely will be times where inflation outpaces available yields, or at least the easy to get yields. And so in that case, we have some lines of defense. And one of those is the backstop, where actually some of the protocol uh, treasury goes to actually inflation correlated assets, such as Bitcoin, oil. tokenized gold, these kinds of things. Still some details to work out there, and we need to preload it, with the bit to make it all work. And we're gonna show. I've got this idea of like how we're gonna show the lines of defense and how much is there and all these different analytics. But yeah, the backstop's gonna be a key part in keeping us
But
from short.
isn't this all why you set up the guarded launch in the first place, right? The guarded launch was here to actually allow you to work through these front-end user experiences and be able to optimize the display, understand some of the queries from the stakers and the participants in order to display and optimize the display, to the
Yeah,
extent that, it just makes it more
absolutely, because that's one of the
comfortable.
things is we don't know what we don't know. We get this out, and all the questions start coming up. The questions come fast, and luckily we're able to iterate the changes quick. So kind of the way I don't know really if this is a sales pitch, but the way I say it internally is like, while that APY is quite high in reward tokens, the price they're paying is, maybe the UX could be a little better. By the time we get out of guarded launch, a lot of this stuff's going to be tightened up and cleaned up.
Yeah, and I think that's partially why, I guess you set that up, and I think that's the great strategy to pursue. And I think here, explain. I'm trying to sort of the automatic unallocation, right? So I haven't connected any
Oh yeah.
my wallets yet, and I haven't actually got my rewards and my cumulative rewards. But what does the automatic the red box here? What does that symbolize, and what does that mean for me as a participant in, as a strategy token holder?
Great question, actually. So, let's just think back to like the Terra Luna days, where you were
Yeah,
getting 20% in Anchor, right? Um, what we really don't want to happen is some guy buys a whole bunch of these strategy tokens, looks across the board, sees, oh, okay, 20%, great, I'm going to go all in. And then he never checks this again. Governance, there's a huge attack vector on governance, which is why we didn't go the governance route. We went with the strategy route. And so to discourage lazy voting like that, lazy allocation, we give you 6 weeks to actually, we will just unallocate all your positions.
yeah,
You don't lose anything, but you're going to stop earning those rewards that you should be getting. And the concept is you should be going in here and updating your positions, from time to time.
yeah.
6 weeks, we could change it if we have to, but it feels like a good starting point. If you're not checking every 6 weeks, the market could have moved by then.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that I, sort of talking to a lot of different participants across the ecosystem in terms of people that will just want to stake, people that are degens and in the total DeFi embedded in that space, and then also investors, right? And then ultimately people that are managing treasuries, right? So you've got a whole full spectrum of different type of users. One of the, a couple of questions that I always get is sort of, why would I use Nuon? What do you think are sort of really unique propositions for Nuon, and why people should actually put their USDC in here?
Yeah, I mean, like such a such a good question. Like what I see as the most exciting part about this is the easiest way. Like you like Nuon V1 was complicated. It had this floating peg, this Flatcoin concept, and we just made the user experience as simple as possible. It's pegged to $1. It rebases positively. And what this turned into, we were just trying to make a good user experience, trying to improve the Flatcoin user experience. What we ended up with is literally, I think, the best user experience for it, the way to get into DeFi yields, the risk protection built in. You know what I mean? The way all of these things are happening. So I feel like once we have to get a little lindy. We have to prove that everything's going to work. Go through a couple tough times and prove that the protocol's fine. But once we reach that point, I feel like why would you hold a regular stable coin? It's almost like I
Yeah.
almost turn the question around, just like, sorry, why wouldn't you use something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that actually, if I have a Truflation protected, coin, I mean, to me, it just makes sense to have that at any point in time. and I've got here, an amazing user experience that makes it very easy for me to just deposit. And if I want USDC, that I can quickly redeem. And it seems that you have a lot of risk protection embedded in there at multiple different layers, which I think is really interesting. But just coming back to the user experience,
Sure.
I've been looking at how we might be able to use Nuon to reward all the team members for their work, or all the freelancers that are working and supporting the different, Truth network, for example. How do I help sell team members to actually adopt being paid in Nuon versus in USDC?
I think there's some basics we have to probably get sorted out. We need to make sure there's enough liquidity. Now, frankly, they can always go to the Nuon protocol. It's as simple as a swap, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they can convert their Nuon to USDC. So I don't think, but still, it's going to a new place. They might be more comfortable with Uniswap or something. But I think, once we get a lot of that built up, I mean, I think that's probably it. Just getting the infrastructure there, making sure that there's enough liquidity, making sure that wallets support it, it properly shows up, the price peg is shown everywhere. Once those basics are in place, as long as they would be willing to, swap the token to whatever they need so that they can go cash out or whatever they need to do, then I think it's almost a no-brainer.
So two elements around the user experience. So one is I can immediately redeem, right? I can go to the website and redeem it. More likely, though, to your point, it's going to be about the liquidity, right? Where can I go to immediately get liquidity, convert this into a currency that I might need to settle up over here, or settle with somebody before Nuon becomes the currency of choice for everybody.
Right. Oh, I love it. Yeah, exactly.
The other element was really around risk protection, right? I mean, you sort of really focus on those two elements, UX and risk protection. On the risk protection side, how do you see that evolving? I mean, maybe you could share a bit more around that, as that's one of the user experiences, or unique selling propositions for Nuon.
Yeah, and so I think, there will be a type of user who is perfectly comfortable going to Morpho or iPor or Moonwell or whatever, any of these. They'll be perfectly comfortable depositing there and working with that, and that's fine. But because our user is looking for a easy way to deal with this, we feel like we needed to put some risk protection in there. So the yields are obviously going to be a little lower because some of the yield needs to go to pay for this. But the three layers we have are this. First of all, the ones we're looking at now, the guys who actually allocate to the assets, these are the guys. We basically what we do is we connect risk takers and conservative people. That is a lot of what's happening. And so the risk takers who are saying, like, I really think, Morpho is where it's at. I'm going to go all in on this. And the strategies will get more advanced, right? And like, oh, I'm getting, 25% here. This feels great. Those guys do great when it goes up. But when it goes down, they're the first line of defense. And the first thing we do is wipe out the profits to make sure that it's balanced, to make sure that the holders are covered, of Nuon holders are covered. After that, there's the backstop. If we somehow wipe out all of the people who are, taking the risk, if everybody bets bad and something goes bad, then there's the backstop. And finally, the Nuon stakers, they're actually putting their Nuon in the line of fire in case of a shortfall. And so that'll be more important as the protocols get more risky. We've started right now. We're obviously working with the safest protocols that we can. But yeah, those are the lines of defense and the order in which they get drawn down on.
Yeah, and then one of the things, I mean, that sort of, I think you shared with me a graph a while back, or I'm trying to get it available here. How do I find this? Give me a second here. I'm going to come in and share this with, which I thought really visualized it a lot, right? It really made it super clear in terms of how it was displayed, and I've shared this with a number of different participants, and that makes sense. People are now interested in participating. And here, where is this window? Here, this one. Bang! Here we go. You've seen this many times.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, I think this really summarizes a lot of it, and maybe it needs a bit of a narrative around it. But USDC comes in, 80% goes to the different pools. The Numint strategy participants select which ones it goes to by putting their Numint to stake to vote. And then that generates a yield. Truflation always gets paid out. At the time, it was 2.9%. And then ultimately the remainder, another 2%, goes to the reserves, which you explained, or the backstop, as you called it.
Right.
And then the remainder gets distributed to Numint holders here. But I guess the one thing missing in here is the Nuon stakers. They also get a part of that 8%. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think this is a little simplified, but I just can't off the top of my head remember. There's a couple other minor, like we have to distribute some of the
Yeah.
yields to cover gas fees. I can't think off the top of my head, but yeah, in general, I think the big one missing here is the Nuon stakers. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
but I
this
mean,
really
in
does
essence,
summarize it.
it really shows you the flow. Yeah, and it's well annotated here. So I like this a lot. I use this a lot in my conversations with a lot of different investors. Yeah, no, exciting, really exciting. How long is the guarded launch for?
Well, that's a good question. At the beginning, it was very solid, firm 6 weeks. You know, that's what it's going to be. I'm not sure that that's going to change, but the market tanking might slow the growth. So, you know what? If that does happen to be the case, it's only good for the people who are participating in the guarded launch. But yeah, I would say 6 weeks for now, if to be decided if that's going to be changed.
Okay.
And we currently have the cap is at 1 million. So basically it won't accept any more USDC after 1 million. And the plan is to ramp that up to 3 million and 5 million. And then after that, it will be open to the world.
Interesting. Yeah, because I think you mentioned there was, I think, two tranches for or maybe three now for the guarded launch, right? So 1 million, 3 million, and then maybe 10 million or whatever the next phases are, right? But you have like
Yeah.
three sort of stages in terms of launching this. Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. Anything else you want to add? And what I mean, I guess it's app.nuon.fi where people should go
Yes, sir.
and try it out. There's a minimum contribution number of $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reasoning
Yeah.
behind that was just
Yeah.
I don't want to see somebody go put their last $100 in, you know what I mean, and then have something go wrong with the protocol in the early days. That would make me feel pretty bad. So I feel like, if you can handle the $1,000 minimum, you're probably going to do okay. So yeah, we've got that minimum. I would say probably you asked what I had to share here is one is the referrals. This is actually one of my
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
parts of the system. So we spent basically from the beginning there was two words: incentives and risk. We wanted a neutral protocol that just basically connected using risks and incentives. And so one of them is like, how do we get people talking about this? The world now is like KOLs. They're what known for like coming out and saying, "Oh, buy this thing," and then selling it 5 minutes later. Whether they do that or not, that seems to be the what everyone talks about. So the thought was just like real people talking about it and attracting people to deposit TVL and stake the Nuon. We obviously want to incentivize that,
Yeah.
and it's working right now. And the exact same thing, just like the depositing TVL and staking your Nuon gives a pretty high APY. The exact same thing's happening right now with referrals because there's not a lot of referrers right now. So
Yeah.
if you attract in these early days, you're going to be getting the lion's share of the rewards until other people come in.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, no, I think you have right here actually at the bottom of the site, I'm just seeing right now, where we talk about, the referrals, right? So here,
Yep.
referrals, I can connect my wallet and then I get a unique referral link
Yep.
that accumulates strategy tokens for me based on people participating in,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
And now
Yeah, no,
I,
so,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to throw in real quick. Obviously, like I don't want to take away from the people who are actually doing referrals, but I did test the protocol out in the early days and sent some referrals, got a little bit, and I will say the rewards are quite tasty, even considering I didn't bring in very much of what's in there. It's pretty healthy. So, if you understand the value and understand why this strategy token is going to be so killer, and you want to get your hands on some, there's a couple interesting ways to do it.
Yeah, so I should start using this too. I mean,
Go for it, man.
but yeah, for all of you that want to participate, connect your wallet and find referrals. Yeah, this is yeah. And what do you have in terms of, I think a lot of people, you mentioned Luna earlier, right?
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
was and their Anchor protocol or their UST protocol, their
yeah.
stablecoin, which got massive adoption really quickly, but ultimately had witnessed a huge flaw. What are you doing to
Right.
provide, visibility, where all the reserves are? How can I verify, the analytics here that this is really true? Where do I go and see and find out more about this? Are you using Chainlink's proof of reserve? Are you doing a Dune analytics page? Are you going to show the smart contract so that anybody can review, associated with these? What are your plans there?
Yeah, the plans are you got it with the Dune. Definitely going to do the Dune. A lot of what we're doing right now is implementing monitoring, and that's for
Yeah,
two purposes. So we can just make sure the protocol's working, and if there is anything going funky, we can see where it is. But at the same time, users, just like you said, are going to want to see all of this. And I think Dune Analytics is a great platform for that. We're going to host as much of this, maybe some of the funky stuff that's a little bit calculated off chain. We're going to start filling up the analytics and as much raw data as we can. But I think if you really wanted to verify things, give us a little time, and there should be a Dune Analytics page for that.
nice. Yeah, I think that would be good. I mean, I think also being able to see the actual smart contracts or the vaults for the buffer protocol assets and backstop would obviously also help.
You
Um,
know,
yeah,
that is, you can verify that yourself. I can't remember off the top of my head the name of the function or the name of the smart contract, but in the first couple days, we didn't have this analytics page up yet, and I just kept
yeah.
querying it in base scan. So it is there if someone wanted to verify this.
So that's good to know. So right now it also is launched on base, right? I mean, it's all you
Yeah.
need to have USDC on base to be able to
Yep.
participate here on base, right?
Yeah. And there's a couple great free bridges to get USDC across to it, so it's not going to be difficult or anything like that. I forget what it's called, one of the ones that Coinbase promotes or base.org promotes. It took three
Okay.
minutes with
Super
zero
bridge or
fees.
something. That's something
Something.
that the
Yeah,
super
yeah.
bridge, yeah.
Yep. Really smooth,
Um,
easy.
yeah. So yeah, no. Otherwise, yeah. Really, anything else I might have forgotten about this, or that you wanted to bring up?
I think that's most of it. I guess just, the story I really want to pound home. I think I kind of did, but the drum I'm beating these days is just trying to get people excited about the concept of a strategy token and why it's unlike anything they've seen before. We've seen where you can stake your token and earn yields. We've seen
Yeah.
that. That's been around for a while. We've seen slashing in,
Yeah.
oracles, for example, or, validators. But what I think makes this new is it's not just staking, it's staking and acting in the best interests of the protocol and selfishly, right, leads to you earning better yields. So one, person who has a strategy token and invests, and another who gets in and allocates to, they may get wildly different yield based on their skill level. And I think this is I don't know. I'm not going to go so far as to say a new paradigm, but I might say it's a new paradigm in tokenomics. That's my That's my bold push.
So you have the inflation protection in the stablecoin element, Nuon,
Yep.
and then you have the ability to participate in the strategy of the protocol with the strategy token, as you define it, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And you get rewarded based on the performance of the protocol. So you're highly aligned with achieving the best outcome for the protocol and ultimately also the Nuon stakers that are staking to actually get their token to earn more liquidity and generate higher yields beyond Truflation.
Exactly. Yes.
So really interesting protocol. Glad to see it come to life. You've been working pretty hard on it over the last
Yep.
year, and it's been really fascinating to be a part of that and really see it come to fruition
You
as
know,
we are bringing it to market. Right now.
I
And go.
actually want to give a little shout out to the devs, like devs in general, DeFi developers in general, working so closely with them on this and going
Yeah.
through all the details. The level of detail and paranoia that they have to be at all the time, every day. I've got a newfound respect for these guys. This is very serious work, and they take it very seriously.
As one should do, right? I mean, as the
Absolutely.
protocol grows, the responsibility also grows with it. And in the development phases of it, you're building, foundational, you're trying to identify flaws in foundational elements of the building, right? It's like trying to build this huge high rise, and you have all this responsibility of all these
Yeah,
people going in there every single
exactly.
day, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. It really
And I think
is.
they're highly underappreciated, the engineers and the intelligence needed in this to think through all the details that you do not
Yeah,
think through as a user, right? And
exactly.
you do not appreciate.
Yep. You just click on it and hope you get your yield, and that's it, you know?
And usually, the easier it feels, the more difficult and complex it becomes in actually building it,
Exactly.
right? Like, yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
No, so guys, check out nuon.fi. There, I think you've got a Twitter channel, you've got a Telegram, LinkedIn. Follow all of that. Nuon.fi, and go set up on app.nuon.fi, and also have a look at the referral. If you like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
and you use it, go get a referral and see what that looks like, and try to earn additional yields.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Cam. Thanks a lot for that. And
Ah,
yeah,
pleasure. Always fun talking to you, Stefan.
yeah. Thank you.